Welcome back, everyone. Game 2 is coming at you out of Xi'an as WE victorious after their first game against TOP are looking to continue that momentum and close out the series in a 2-0 because, as we said, that Game 1, we're hoping that this isn't a flash in the pan, that this is just a quick hit, that they finally found momentum with a good strategy. Can they do it again is the question.
Yeah, I think that a good idea of that is the consistency at the very least that they've had in the early game thus far in the split. That they've been doing this in the last series before that versus BLG, where I still feel like they should have won that set. That WE as a team are getting better. Early game, better. A team that we know historically has been much better. So, if that is to follow, they'll go in the next game, lose, and go to game 3.
I mean, that's the hope, that we don't see that for Team WE, that they are able to actually close it out and be better.
Yep.
Can they do that, though? TOP have been upsetting some really big names. They're at 6 and 7 right now off of the best split that they've had since coming into the LPL.
Yeah, I think TOP right now, while taking this loss, feels like, well, first thing is that one thing we should celebrate coming out of cross-conferences is this is the best cross-conference we've seen from this team thus far. Easy to say because they've had the longest losing streak of all time, TOP. So that being said, for this squad, there has been immediate growth that they've had going up against WE. Should just be an easy, take a step back. BSY should be able to give them that information that early portions of the game, the bottom lane should be a lot more respectful. That's an easy point to make, an easy, I would say, adaptation for Choto to have.
I mean, the Swain was banned away, so perhaps WE, well aware of this strategy, are going to try to counter that again as we look towards pick and ban for this game 2. Of course, we do also have to assume that TOP have got multiple strategies. I mean, obviously the Swain, for one, if that goes through picks and bans, that could be a way that TOP decide to look for. But again, Chocho, he's played the Vladimir, he's played a whole bunch of different mages down there, so there is some flexibility. Or he could try to look for a safer AD carry. Maybe instead of banning away the Ezreal, taking it himself.
Well, he has a deeper champion pool. So the Ezreal point, yeah, sure. The Tristana is something he's done in the past. The first AD carry in the LPL to actually hit the Stormrazers. Back when it was just a little bit average. Not a lot of people were moving towards that. In fact, Essence Reaver was something a lot of Zayas were going towards. Rather than that, went towards the Stormrazers on Tristana when a lot of people were just saying, hey, you know what, I'll just go to the old school build and understand that it's just suboptimal. Blade of the Rune King. For him, he has picks he can go towards. I don't want to blame the pick just because I felt like play better. A lot of that are just very easy points that he made, or at least issues that he
respecting the Flash Recon grand entrance just a little bit more, maybe?
About 3 times that game.
Yeah. During the laning phase.
No, like throughout the entire game. Once when he was trying to defend mid lane tower.
Yeah, well, that
Flatly,
too.
he played poorly. And so I think if that gets better, I thought TOP's fights topside was actually just a good start, a good setup. It should be a very competitive series from what we're seeing in Game 1 if TOP just mends a lot of those problems that they had.
And again, this is looking at the mental fortitude of this team. They're known as one of the biggest sport retailers in all of China, TOP that is. So they come from a sporting background. They should be familiar with this sort of mental fortitude that the team needs to actually play and show with, especially considering the primary veteran on their team, Korn, finally making his return back into the LPL this year. He previously showed up on Newbie just before that. This is a guy who went to the 2014 World Finals and ended up losing, dropped down into the LSPL, and has been in obscurity ever since. Now it seems that he's back in the LPL. He thinks it's his time to shine. It's his time to stand up and show why he deserves to be competing. He's doing that against Xie, who's been having one of the best spring splits of his life and is continuing that momentum into summer.
Yeah, and it's a challenge that he's probably not going to scoff at, because we've seen him time and again going up against the best of the world in the mid lane. So for him, that confidence should be there, and it's been apparent throughout the split. And sure, people would aim champion pool questions towards him. It's been actually happening throughout his entire career, but that's just because he favors certain picks in the meta. He wants to go towards the Fizz when Fizz is viable, Orianna when Orianna is just the pick for him to go. This time around, Irelia is one thing, that's sure. Talon is another.
Yeah,
and so Yasuo is becoming that. I feel like all 3 of those picks are picks to go towards, and it turns into a game in pick ban for the enemy team to just ban out Korn and see what he can play. And it seems like recently he's been playing well in that game. He's been coming out the better and challenging teams to actually start moving away from that strategy.
And that's how we've seen TOP take their victories, either through Corn putting on a hard carry performance out of that mid lane, or as a collective unit, as 5 stepping up to see a strong performance overall. But now we've gotten into this next pick and ban. WE are the ones who find themselves on blue side with side selection. They've chosen it. Already, you can see Talia, Swain, and now the Yasuo banned away.
And another ban here, Rakan seems to be a staple now, or teams have to respect it. First pick, just because you're not just tied to a Xayah any longer, teams are actually picking it with an Ezreal as well. So they just value that hard engage, immediate fight that you can actually spring about. So for them, they're like, yeah, you know what, TOP is saying, we understand that. We're going to take that away from you. So it's going to be the Trundle that first comes out for WP.
Again, Condi returning to that champion, but TOP, they picked themselves a safe bottom lane. Varus, Tom, Kench, already trying to rectify the mistakes of game 1.
It was TOP that banned out Tom Kench last time around when they were on blue side. So for them, they're saying, we'll pick it up ourselves. Cat's going to be the savior going on throughout the game. Mid-game should be Chocho, once he leaves the lane, starting to look for fights. And if anything comes about, it's going to be Cat that can look to save out Corn, Chocho, Moyu, depends on the picks what comes through.
Now, that does mean we get to see a very early Rise rotation out of Xie. Not looking for the Assassin mid this time, instead taking a standard mage, a very strong power pick for him. And then, look at that missing for his next pick with this Braum hover very early on. There's still a lot of 80 carries. We might be seeing the counter pick potentially save 4957 as TOP will have to show 4 of their champions. So we'll see what WE decide to look for that counter pick.
A lot of disengage from WE. Of course, the Realm Warp will be a nice form of just hard engage if you bring your entire team along, but the Braum and Trundle alone means that if you are CA or Mystic, you're definitely going for a strong front-to-back style. You don't want to go in on flanks just because you already have that safety enabled. It's great efficiency to just play through the slows of Trundle Pillar and the Braum ulti. So I like what I see here from WE immediately.
TOP are trying to deal with what looks like a Wombo setup right now as the Camille is locked in. That can go to XX or Moyu. Now, last time we've seen this out of TOP, they pair it with the Galio.
Yep. That's why it should be banned here. WE should just ban out the Galio and look for another, let's say, Gnar is something you should probably take away. It's not an easy point and click that a Camille Galio would give you or a Camille Misfortune, but just makes it so if you find that one target that you can just look to bully him out. So strong top side. In fact, I would even say respect that Moyu will pick it up in the top lane as well.
Perhaps 957 could try to look for that counter pick as a chance to answer Moyu in the top lane, as again it's double ban towards Mystic plus the Ezreal, so let's consider that a triple ban. And heck, you can play Aatrox anywhere. I'll count that as a quadra ban. 4 champions taken away from Mystic in the bottom lane.
You're going hard in that paint.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, if you're playing AD carry and you got auto-filled to top lane and you don't know what to do, play Aatrox. It's pretty strong.
I'll take that.
Pretty strong right now.
On WE though, I mean, Caitlyn is an option that you have here. Lucian is something that's very likely. So I would say Lucian should be picked up by Mystic. Very confident in that. It's a great bottom lane duo. You can just have all-in fights on towards Chocho if Cat does find himself roaming about. So that's what I would say for WE.
Now, this is a bit interesting. We're seeing the Gnar pick up from Moyu, which means Camille is going into the jungle for XX. That means TOP are showing that they're not going to flex that very early on and are showing their hand. That does save counter pick and the surprise effect for Corn, but that seems like a bit of a risky gambit because now we're getting to see some counter picks from Team WE as Cho'Gath is the champion of choice for 957.
Well, we did know that for certain that the Gnar was going to be looked at here. Galio sure wasn't the go-to pickup, can still be, not being banned out here by WE in second phase. But Gnar is just incredibly safe. It's a good takeaway from 957. Great split push. So even though the Cho'Gath being picked top lane as a counter pick, it's not really a counter pick. It just means that Cho'Gath wants to go for fights a little bit more aggressively. So expect that Moyu will go for a much more split push heavy build and just try and bully out the Cho'Gath with Camille in hand.
Now we do see another lane control carry from Mystic as an answer to that. Sivir is the champion, and Orianna locked in for Corn. This is a legacy pick.
Yeah, Orianna's great. Remember, TP Orianna was the go-to for Corn when he went to Worlds.
Yeah.
Didn't have a good time in the finals, but guess what? It was something you'd have to respect. So Corn, very least, has a good handle in this champion. And with him and XX is a great pairing. Send the Orianna ball on towards the Camille, and she's going to make magic happen. And a great burst to follow up. So look towards Mystic and Xie. Both of them are going to be really feeling that combination.
Plus some long-range wave clear to try and contest the rise without having to get into range and not really have to worry about that rune prison. And of course, that means that you can unlock your mid lane and roam to pair up with your jungler. We didn't get a chance to see that in game one at all, as Korn was locked down by Xie. Perhaps we could be seeing something a little bit different this time, as we prepare to load onto the Rift for this game two. Will it be Korn looking for the solo carry once again on the Orianna, or RTOP looking at that team effort, a more holistic composition?
Well, see, the one thing that I do love is that through the bottom lane, they have great push. In fact, if I'm TOP, be happy about the early game portions for this draft, because Varus, Orianna, Gnar, the range is there in the early laning phase. And it should be heavily in favor of TOP, so a lot of pressure now is on Kandi to try and deal with that, try and push that off. There should be gank potential there, but that's where the difficulty lies, that now he has to focus on that or his lanes passively lose.
Now WE looking to close this series out 2-0. Have they learned their lesson? Are they able to prove that their success is not just a flash in the pan, not just a quick hit against TOP? Or will TOP be able to bring us to game 3 and start once again adding those doubts as we prepare to load onto the Rift for this game 2 in Xi'an, as TOP challenge Team WE.
Even a dance. We see you, buddy.
He's just having a good time. He's just happy to be here. Stamping his feet, stamping TOP into the ground.
I guess that's what he's imagining.
Perhaps, could be. Double unsealed spellbook from both of our supports. Looks like, I believe that's a cleanse base from Missing. Whereas Cat is looking at the heal base summoner spell. Interesting choice.
So it makes sense because you understand the pressure is going to be heavily towards you. Camille early gank, her level 2 is impactful. So for XX, he's starting on the bottom side naturally. So level 2 is definitely a threat here. While at the same time, the CC from post 6 Varus, what we often see a cleanse coming into. So for Missing, he can defend himself from that. Then naturally you have the spell shield for Mystic, so it's going to be hard to gank this lane, especially once you hit level 3 with Mystic, so he has the spell shield available.
Still only level 1. He's trying to take control of this wave very early on, but the rain of arrows means Jojo is able to push right back and should be getting close to even in terms of these minions, so no clear advantage on either side.
And one thing I want to make a mention of, because I did point out that Jojo and Cat should be able to win this one naturally, but the Mystic Missing lane should try. They're going to be focused on pushing it out. So it's interesting that the lethal tempo came through from Jojo instead of try and go for a Comet build. I understand with Comet means that Mystic can try and fish for spell shielding Qs, but if you try and bait it out a little bit more, it's a long cooldown. And that'd be able to whisk away control away from the push that Mystic has. So try and trade a lot more often is what I would like to see.
Now it's just that passive lane as we're taking an eye on the junglers. Kandi looks to be going buff to buff as he did start with that top side scuttle. That means XX gets the chance to control that bottom side. And now we're starting to see some of the push pressure of Varus Kench. Whereas Mystic doesn't have a lot of mana to clear out these waves so far.
Doesn't have the mana, doesn't have the AD.
Yeah.
Once his ricochet to deal the damage makes it a lot easier. So once he has components for his Storm Razors, then he'll be alright. I wonder actually, now that I said that, Storm Razors or Essence Reaver, I've seen a few Sivers go towards the Essence Reaver.
Yeah.
So that could be a real question there.
We did see the Raptor steal away by XX, but Kandi walks up and takes away all of the small camps, so still gets some of the experience of this camp. Though the first invade move is made by XX. Kandi's playing a completely different game this time around. He's not looking for any early ganks just yet, going for what looks to be a full clear on this side of the map and just relying on his lanes to hold their own. 957 is getting a bit of a push onto Moyu. It's about even in mid lane. And now Mystic is starting to reclaim control of the lane down here bottom. XX might be the one who tries to upset that as he's looking top.
Here we go. He's almost on Meganar.
Hook shot. That's the flash. 957 is caught, like you said, Meganar, but the Rupture still flashes, but a good lead by Moyu. Hits the slowest chase ever, and 957 escapes.
There we go. 957 thought he got out of the wallop range. Didn't happen, though, but still gets out. Still has to teleport back to lane. So I would say from Moyu and XX perspective, think of it as a job well done, knowing that now TP is gone from 957 along with Flash, so they can bully this a little bit more. One thing I want to talk about, Moyu having he's went into the precision tree, so he has a little bit of lifesteal on his auto attacks. Fleet footwork, there we go. So it just means that he wants to go for the usual Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet. Maybe he gets a Zeal item so he can later on try and look to continue his split push, but already making it known that Moyu wants to stick in the side lanes rather than group up.
Already Moyu is declaring his intent. The big scare, though, is the Cho'Gath on the opposite side.
That's true.
He's grouped up with his team. That's pretty scary. Because we've already seen what happens if 957 can start to snowball and get nice and massive.
We've seen that true before. A lot of it's been a game for Moyu of split push versus the enemy team trying to group up. And he's been on the losing side of that throughout his career thus far. And it's just been a great point of communication for his team of where they are positioned as the game goes on, if it's going to be around Baron or not. Being on Gnar doesn't shut him out of team fights completely. If he's coming out of flank, he can try and just
teleport Gnar slam onto 2 people.
True. I mean, even if he has the passive damage of his auto attacks on mini Gnar, that's good enough to just deal with the Mystic and force his position. So there's still options there for the Gnar, but naturally wants to be on the opposite side of the map.
Try and pull some of that attention away from those vital carries of Orianna and Varus, who have got some pretty strong wave clear of their own as the game goes later and later. But so far, Kandi's been playing a largely defensive role on this side of the map. Those carries haven't been doing too much. The Moyu is trying to do everything he can to keep even in CS with 957. Things are going nice and slow, but Mystic seems like he might be intent on opening advantage. That's the recall from Chocho and a teleport right back in. Blade of the Ruined King, first out of the Varus.
There we go. You know, of course, he just wants to have the passive damage. Mystic does want a base here. Chocho and Cat have to trace them. If they can cancel his base, means that Chocho gets the item advantage. They're just waiting on it to teleport. Sure, Mystic wants to be able to teleport back in. I want to see what his first item is. Should be a BF sword early on. Let's make sure.
On it. He's got the recall. Didn't even have to use a health potion over the course of that laning phase.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, BF sword Cull. WE taking it nice and slow. They know they've got that hyper late game carry of Rise and Sivir.
Now that he has the BF sword, the Ricochet is going to be doing so much. Remember that he went for lethal tempo himself, so we've seen a combination of fleet footwork, lethal tempo. I personally like the lethal tempo. Remember your Ricochet, once that lands on Chocho, you get the innate attack speed. So if you ever get engaged on, you'll already have it enabled for you. So I like the fact that Mystic here, his job here, clear the wave. Play passively until you get your Storm Razors and the Zeal item completed. Some have gone Static Shiv, but I think Rapid Fire Cannon is good.
It's a bit overkill, yeah, when you've already got the Ricochet.
Exactly. So that's what I prefer, and it makes it so it's a challenge to TOP to actually use XX Engage early on. Because if he goes bottom lane, it's a longer lane, but there's so much to get out of it with Spell Shield and Cleanse. But if you bring in Corn along for the battle, then sure. So it's now a step-by-step process for XX. Help out mid, push out mid,
unlock
get control.
Orianna,
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that he has to do before he can challenge this bottom lane. Help him out.
I mean, before he can unlock the Orianna, he needs to unlock himself. Look at the defensive vision we're seeing out of Team WE.
Wow.
Ward in the Pixel Brush, defensive ward behind Dragon. Another one in the Pixel Brush, Tri-Bush bottom side. Wow, I am getting all of the names of the brush wrong. Yep. That's Pixel. That XX just clears out. Do you just want to take the name for now? The name of these bushes?
I mean, I'll just call them as it is. They're all bushes.
They're all bushes.
They're all Pokemon tall grass.
Do you reckon it's like that great fungus in California that's the largest organism, the redwood tree, where it's all the same organism as, ooh, could be seeing a fight, but no blue steal away from Corn.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
where all of the redwood trees are connected. They're all the same living organ. Do you think that's the case on Summoner's Rift? These are all the same, like a fern?
First and foremost, I actually don't know what you're talking about. That was a lie. Second of all,
why did you say that?
I thought the sarcasm carried, but that's just how I normally talk. I realized fairly late. And second of all, no.
Okay, that is amazing. Okay. So there's the redwood forest in Northern California that's filled with redwood trees. The root network of all of those redwood trees are connected. So every tree that sprouts is not a new tree, it's the root of another tree that grows over like 10 feet over from the original one.
That sounds like a conspiracy theory.
So it's one, no, they've tracked it underground. Like you can literally peel away the dirt and follow the roots from tree to tree. The redwood trees.
All right, Alex Jones, I hear you.
Okay. Anyways, clearly, because this isn't going to turn into a nature documentary, let's talk about League of Legends, Raz. Let's talk about something going on here. Moyu, he's pushing in 86 CS to 80 as he's slightly taking control of the wave. Chocho's trying to control bottom with that cutlass, but like you said, the BF sword means that Ricochet is going to clear through the waves so quickly as long as Mystic manages his mana correctly.
And so one point of contention that I'm going to point out is, you already mentioned the vision control that was heavy towards topside. Condi's done his job at passively farming, has the experience advantage, been pushing out top lane pretty heavily. And so for him, he's protected his mid lane, who's stacking up his tier. And 957 is actually stacking up really quickly as well. I mean, this turns his ultimate. So XX, understanding that he actually can't get the job done in either lanes, is essentially picking the easy route of, at the very least, can I get this Rift Herald? I mean, we'll see. So far, so good.
Soloing it down shouldn't be terribly difficult. You can see On My Way pings coming out of Condi. 957's even making his way over there as well. This is classic Dan Gaming. 957 steps up, Korn is already there. Condi is going to take some harass, but XX is over the wall. Shockwave pulls him back in. That's the subjugate and the pillar.
Oh, but the job has been done. Of course, Rift Herald being able to gain his full HP back. XX took a lot of damage to basically get the job done. So for him, he doesn't want to go through that again because the whole ruse is that they don't see him. But 957 understanding the game here, recognizing that XX has nothing else to do on the map, comes back from base, understands that XX is on Rift Herald. Now it's much harder for XX to get anything going. He farms slower. He can't get lanes working for him.
Uh-oh. Ooh. That was an early spell shield by Mystic, and you can see what happens when he uses that incorrectly. But that strategy, again, that's classic Dan Gaming. That's 2017 Summer Split, when they first joined into the LPL before they turned into Topsports in 2018 Spring. The 20-minute Baron Rush. As it spawns, have people on the pit to try to burn through its health. This time it's the Rift Herald, though. But WE, they're already prepared. They're already diligent.
Yeah, that team has grown to a point where they can move around without the Baron. But you're right, it's really just a strength that they have here. In this game, in this case for Rift Herald, it's just them not really having a viable option. It's nice to see XX mirroring his lane now that they've gotten the control there. No flash for Sivir. It's easier for him.
Now XX, like you said, mirroring that bottom side. He's actually going to look for the invade right now. Remember, Condi doesn't have the subjugate just yet, but XX is spotted by a ward, and Condi's able to take his red buff, even placing another control ward to deny XX every single thing he can. Now, there is push pressure from Chocho and Cat, and even from Korn in the mid lane, so XX is still free to push up and take that, but it's only vision denial so far.
Invaluable information for XX. He knows that Trundle's bottom lane now. So you can try and path towards top lane a little bit more aggressively, try and chip down the tower. You can see that it's fairly, at least been being chipped at here. So for him, he can now strategize around a pathing so he doesn't have to meet Trundle. Because Trundle's been a problem, been a thorn in his side throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah. So far, Condi's taking a largely defensive role for his team, once again going tank. And that's TOP finding an opening on the map to use the push pressure that they had bottom and mid to collapse onto the Mountain Dragon. So it is paying off for now. That's even the Abyssal Voyage to head down bottom as they're actually looking for Mystic. Remember, he has no flash. That's the spell shield as he makes his way, gets tons of mana, but finally dies. First blood from Chocho.
You know what I mean? You might have the spell shield, but you get the Camille ulti across. Well done to just hard go for the bottom lane.
Yeah, Mystic recalled, bought Stormrazor, and then teleported back into lane. I think he teleported deep into the minion wave, which was why Cat had the call to go for the deep teleport.
Yeah, they thought they had the time to escape, but remember, Tom can't ulti. It's a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a thing.
You think you have the timing on it, but immediately being able to cut them off. Take a look at this. So, of course, they clear the wave, but the escape strategy doesn't exist. Camille ultimate, of course, she has the damage across. They thought they could at least chip her down, stun her under tower with the Braum passive.
But there's a Kench there.
Yep, that's why it's super difficult in that situation.
And that's Blade of the Ruined King now from Chocho as he gets himself that first blood bonus to match the Stormrazor of Mystic. Now top lane is looking for a recall. Condi on top of a ward, still playing defensive, allowing 957 to absorb this constant pressure on the top half of the map. But that does mean that the game is still being stalled out by Team WE. They're looking to scale. They've got the Rise, they've got the Sivir.
And you know what? You know who's the silent assassin of the game thus far? Corrin. I'll say Corrin. Corrin right now is probably in the most vulnerable spot, facing down the Rune Prison, Condi throwing down his Trundle Pillar. But he's been able to deal with it for the most part. He's been pushing up the lane, larger in CS, so he's been doing very well, but not pushing overly aggressive. So he hasn't given an opportunity for Condi to actually look to pick him up. So for him, it's actually frustrating for CA because nothing's happening through mid lane when he wants to make the play happen.
You can even see Missing is hovering around that mid lane. Seems to be almost completely disabled when not on that Rakan or even the Alistar. As TOP, they're going to turn onto the Rift Herald. There are pings from WE. They know that this is happening, but just a little bit slow to the punch as the Rift Herald is picked up. XX finds the buff, and now that's the first two neutral objectives going to TOP just through lane pressure paying off. And XX immediately uses it mid. They think that Xie has recalled, but it doesn't matter if he has or hasn't. Taking Raptors, Rift Herald charge is going to be able to break down the turret.
I wonder what Corrin and XX are going to do off this, because they can immediately move bottom lane. Xie has to hold the 3 minions and the massive Rift Herald, so that could be a bottom lane tower off that as well with the roaming Orianna.
I mean, we can already see that the bottom lane of Mystic and Missing has been forced to back away, knowing that, like you said, the mid has gone from TOP. They've disappeared off of the map, and they're still hovering around this mid lane. Xie steps back up. There's the hook shot. Flash is matched, and Xie escapes.
Good flash, but that also makes XX a target, because it was only... I mean, it makes Xie a target. Because XX flashing through still has his ultimate. Orianna still has her ball as well. So they can look for a mid lane dive, or if the Rise is still under tower without much help.
Now they're following up on the second charge and are getting a faster rotation without the Abyssal Voyage. Xie with no flash can't walk up, and the tier 2 goes down. TOP are just picking things apart as Condi, he's in a really rough spot right now. That's a late flash to get out of there. No ultimatum. And will use the pillar, but that means top tier 1 is undefended, and 957 is forced to teleport away. WE are falling apart.
That was a good job. You could just see TOP picking apart each outer turret. I mean, Condi had a good idea trying to save topside outer, but at that point, being able to just completely be cut off from his top laner, it was smart for 957 to TP on out of there. But now look at the situation they're in. All outer turrets are gone so quickly off one play, because Sivir didn't move mid earlier on, respecting the bottom lane towers being taken, mid lane as a result, then moving towards top lane. So we just didn't see the Sivir moving quickly enough. I feel like if WE as a squad were much faster in that situation to handle the mid lane tower going down, they could have at least held the top lane tower.
WE, suddenly they're the ones scrambling to defend. Yes, they're scaling up, but TOP have opened up so much of the map. The next objective is another Mountain Dragon. And if TOP, they can control the lanes, they can control the river, they can control the dragons, whereas they can control the spice. They can control the galaxy.
Going too deep. What movie are you watching?
That's Dune.
Dune?
Yeah.
Is that the
old
digging one?
The real old one. The digging one?
Yeah, with Shia LaBeouf.
What? That's holes.
Dune's
digging
holes.
Up them holes, digging.
Yeah.
I don't know why I know that. Wow, that's all right, brain.
There we have it.
It's keeping me on the edge of my toes as well. Oh man. But no, we do not get to see the spice control from TOP so far as they're trying to go even with WE and even out this series. WE are still taking the time to scale. Seraph's Embrace is on the way for Xie as he has finished his Archangels. The Stormrazor's Rapid Fire Cannon finally completed from Mystic, so it was the RFC. But Chocho is building towards Guinsoo's, and we're starting to see some more snowball coming out of TOP's item choices.
Because they just can't track down XX here. Items are coming through. Even have the double magic penetration from Korn. So it's just literally XX and Korn moving alongside and challenging the solo laner. It's Xie a lot of the time. Xie still doesn't have flash up, so for him, it's XX just jumping in, looking to get the execute true damage off of his Q. Orianna to follow on her ultimate. The combination is there, and it's really WE just trying to protect their laners. It's a difficult task.
On the upside, not having so many turrets means that WE can catch more minions without having them without worrying about them dying to the turrets. On the downside, they lose map control, and TOP now have double mountain on a Varus.
That's the problem here. It's like, yeah, sure, you have more waves to catch, but it speeds up the game naturally because it's TOP then saying, well, actually, we'll just take another Earth Dragon.
Yeah.
And then we can move towards the Baron that's coming up in about 20 seconds. So sure, you want to be catching waves, but you actually have to respond to us, or you just lose the game immediately. The waves are going to be a little bit too strong if they're buffed up by Baron. So hard game for WE to come back on.
Counterpoint, 6-item Sivir. Doesn't care about no Baron buff on minions.
You speed up the game,
she's
not going to get
Ricochet with true damage.
Your point's very weak.
They only get increased resistances, true damage from Infinity Edge, doesn't care about your armor.
If I'm to take you to court on a 1 week court basis, they would throw your case out in day 1.
Oh man.
Day 1, the jury's like, we're done, we're ready.
Schedule a week? That's a long session.
We'd schedule a long one.
I mean, we could just look at this game and see how it goes. That's also a counterpoint.
I'm just saying the jury is already prepared.
Ah. So you talk to the jury before the court, Raz. You know, that's it's illegal.
Not if you do it right.
What?
Knows what I'm talking about.
What? Okay. Well, TOP, they're doing their best to talk to the jury right now, but WE aren't hearing it. They are on the stand pledging to speak nothing but the truth and only the truth. And as a result of that, they are sitting back and defending, knowing they've got that scaling composition, trying to wait it out, but eventually they'll have to step back out onto the map because Baron is up, and their opponents are TOP, the artists previously known as Dan Gaming.
One thing I will say about TOP, because they have the control around Baron, so this game should be about them and their control from this point forward. Using the control ward in the pit, a lot of times people think, oh, that's fine, that's good, right? I would want to put the control ward farther out in the river because they're in red side. So actually, that Baron pit should be difficult to contest for WE. But what's easy to contest is placing wards around the river and throw it over the wall. Right now, they're just getting, I'd say, really difficult to bait WE out because there are just so many wards strewn across the entire river. So they cleared out one, thankfully, because of the red trinket. But now they still have that one extra that can catch them if they were to just try and rush for Baron.
Got teleport on Xie on a side lane. If there is a rush, he can respond. He's holding this wave as far back as he can.
And it's baiting TOP to make some action happen with a slower push. Now in this case, the wave did get finished out, so it's a little easier for Gnar to extend out. But issue is, if he extends out, no vision in the enemy red side, then he's going to be calling for his team to be doing something. That's why TOP right now are rushing the vision here. They have the control wards ready, just now it's on WE to respond.
Still, it's just a constant defense. Mystic hovering around his red buff. He's got plenty of vision set up by his team, so he's able to take that safely. TOP constantly maneuvering around this Baron, contesting every single ward they can. Try to open up the map now. Xie is walking towards the mid lane. Moyu is bottom, pushing a minion wave in. This could be Team WE looking for an opportunity.
And timing matters here. It's being done now, but Gnar just got exhausted, so if Moyu were to join the fight, he would be there purely for Gnar. That being said, no information is being given, so this is an easy one for TOP.
That's the blue trinket spotting it out. XX is forced to leap out of the pit as Korn and XX do some pretty good damage with the double mountain. Not quite as much as if they had brought over Chocho, but he's busy distracting in the mid lane.
I want more blue trinkets from WE at this point. I mean, they're not in a stage in which they can get control. They're behind in gold, behind in pressure. Push is coming through from Moyu. They need to just have enough vision on the Baron being done, so blue trinkets will help them out.
Right now they're just relying on moving as a unit as, whoop, that's the Rune Prison. Moyu walks up to push Xie out of the brush and just continue to take trades against the Gnar. He does have lifesteal, so it's pretty hard to kill him, but...
Also, he has Merc Treads, which means that he gets out on parole from Rune Prison fairly early. Doesn't have to worry about that for too long.
Lots of good behavior from Moyu. And still just constantly trading these waves. We're still at 2 items on Mystic. He's looking for that next item. Let's see if he goes for a GA or tries to go all in on the Infinity Edge for true damage crits, as Kandi will try to fight over this. Good pillar, but XX smite secure.
I would want the Infinity Edge. At this point in the game, sure, people will say GA because it seems like the game is going to be decided in about 5 minutes time. But if you get the Infinity Edge, you have the added chance from 30% to 60%. Gets doubled based off your crit. Also, just the raw 80 AD is always nice. Right now, he just needs to be dealing as much damage as possible. He's the crux of their composition. We need to be seeing him do something with those 3 items. He can't be playing defensively.
He's even in gold with Chocho. So he's got that going for him. Another 1,800 in the bank. Still needs about 500 or so to finish off that Infinity Edge completely. But now they're walking up to contest this vision. You can see in the mid lane, it's even in gold. In the top lane, about an 1,800 gold advantage for Moyu as he's 66 CS ahead of 957. Pretty close just about everywhere else. But as a result of that, with all of the gold being on Moyu, that just kind of increases the split push of TOP against a Ryze, who can clear the wave in 2 or 3 spell casts.
Yeah, but it's always the call of what ends up happening if Ryze clears the wave. Moyu does have Blade of the Rune King, so he's going to try and trade. So Ryze is going to lose HP. It's a decision-making game. Moyu should be comfortable in that matchup there. Needs a little bit of magic resist based off of what he's dealing with, because he is dealing with 957 or Xie, whoever decides to match him in the lane. So it's his call at the end of the day, but WE doesn't get a choice in what's about to happen.
Yeah. Again, League of Legends is an attrition-based game. The more you can wear down your opponent's resources, the better. XX inside of the pit. Horn hops over as well. They've got control wards. They're denying vision as best they can, but the blue trinket, again, right on the dot, but that's Abyssal Voyage. That's bringing Chocho in there, and they've got a lot of shred. As Mystic is back at base, he's got his IE, but that means he's not there. Now Kandi, the son of Baron, has got smite. Baron gets reset. TOP back away. They
don't have the necessary information of where Mystic and Xie are. Had they had that info, they engage. Issue was, not enough vision, blue side jungle to catch Ryze coming through, so it was a good opportunity from TOP. They're getting a little bit, I would say, frustrated.
That's yet another blue trinket used. That should put them both on cooldown. Mystic
there we go.
Actually uses On the Hunt. He steps forward. XX manages to get onto him. That's the Hextech ultimatum. Spell Shield is used early. The ultimatum fades and he flashes out of the shockwave. Mystic is still alive, but XX chases him down and gets the kill. That primary carry is gone. It's up to Xie now. He's going 1 versus 4 with 957 taken for him. Make that 1 versus 5. He's looking for Korn, but 957 is dead. TOP juggle the aggro. They lose 1 as Xie is forced to flash away, but absolutely worth it.
It was XX challenging the confidence of Mystic. Mystic was way off to the side, not near his team, but Mystic was like, I have flash. If you try and go on me, I'll be able to just disengage immediately. And so they almost bursted down XX. Super close in doing so. Perfect timing there for him.
And Xie walks up looking to contest this. XX misses the hook shot. Xie has no flash here. He's slowed. Baron finally finished off. Realm Warp from Xie used to try and escape, but XX zones him off of this, and he's forced to walk into the minions to get away.
He buys enough time so he doesn't get chased down. It would allow WE to come through and help him out. So that being said, that's a free Baron for TOP. Well job. I think XX, good job from him specifically, understanding that, hey, you know what is Mystic doing here? I got a free path to him. So Mystic was challenged, even though he used flash. Hook shot is being maxed here by XX, so up very quickly, and he gets killed again.
Just locking him down, and though Xie does some good damage and is able to get 1 kill, it's not quite enough to match the massive damage that TOP are doing with that Varus. Now the Baron has been picked up by TOP. They're in control of this game. 7,000 gold ahead. The mid tier 2 has already been broken down, and that minion wave is starting to stream towards the lane. Moyu is still split pushing. He did not use teleport for that Baron play, so we do have a potential 1-3-1 set up by TOP.
And one thing that's frustrating to play against TOP's comp, it's much more different than what WE had in game 1. WE had a LeBlanc in game 1, so while she could split push with the Baron buff, issue was she couldn't commit to any dives or couldn't play under tower for certain, one-on-one threat. She had to respect it because she still was fairly fragile. This game, Moyu has a lot of HP underneath him. Ain't nothing stopping him. He can just sit in side lanes, and if he's sitting on Ryze, it's Ryze that has to respect that pressure that he can dive at any moment just based off his own pressure. You can already see what's happening here.
The Mega Gnar, the Giga Gnar, at 2 items as he's looking for the Frozen Mallet, but already these tier 2s are being broken down. It's down to the inhib line for Team WE to defend. They're drawing their line in the sand, but it's a full 100 seconds on the Baron buff. 3 items finished off for Corn. Another 3.5 items for Chocho as 957 trying to keep XX away from the wave, away from the turret, but it is so difficult.
Yeah, one thing you have to focus on here is that Orianna, she's ready, primed with her ultimate, and if you look towards both Xie and Mystic, neither of them have flash here. Neither of them can actually defend, so they're going to lose this tower based off the fact that they can't work forward if XX is there.
And already Chocho walking up to the inhibitor, empowered by the Orianna ball. That dissonance cooldown means he's able to get up there so much quicker. Starts working it down. Hail of arrows onto Mystic as he's trying to ricochet through. 60 seconds still on the Baron, but the first inhibitor has fallen. A wave is spread mid. TOP just rock up to it and start working on the next turret.
On WE, where are they going to draw the line? It's so difficult with their comp. Nothing in terms of hard engage. This competition is great when they have a lead. Stops the team from just walking at them. But at this point, Braum, sure, maybe if he flashes and ultis, that's really janky. But at that point, just on WE to find something, it's difficult.
WE struggling to defend. As Moyu brings up yet another wave and the remaining members of TOP group up mid. Moyu is just working down this turret. Missing, throws up the door to try to hold down this mid inhib, but finally it dies to the cannon minion as Moyu gets the last inhibitor turret. 6 seconds on the clock as the Baron buff finally wears off.
Take a look at Mega Gnar, of course, is going to work at this. Even when Cho'Gath was dealing with him, he could just completely ignore the tank, knowing that he has the sustain. But here we go, Cho'Gath in the back.
Warp. 957 is in the back line. Mystic is in the front. They're running down onto Corn. That's the Devourer to deny it. XX is on the side. Mystic is right in the middle of his team, but splits off to deal with Moyu, doing some good damage, but Xie chases XX. That's a good cataclysm, but it's denied. The spell shield comes back up. And XX is not able to get the Hextech ultimatum. Meanwhile, knockup onto Cat. He's running for his life, but it's a bounce house for this guy. He's stunned and dies. As WE finally step forward and get a kill, they draw the line, but it's at the inhibs.
Great challenge there from WE. Specifically Xie, just walking up to XX, knowing that extra shield that he had from Banshee's Veil was going to keep him safe, but they still have a lot of defending to do with the super minions at their turret.
As those super minions flood in, that's going to provide constant threat for TOP and enable them to snowball even later. Now, WE, they're looking for the Infernal. XX is there. Corn has grouped up Moyu from the side. It's double teleport. Missing's looking to get in, but it's Mystic and Ryze who aren't there, the 2 damage dealers. Mystic finally joins the fight. This could be the one that turns it around. Shockwave goes in, and that's 957 and Condi dead. Mystic and Xie are kiting it out, but the stun lands. WE lash back out onto the map for little to no reason and get aced by TOP.
They just completely disrespected the damage that Chocho is going to be walking up with. Sure, you have the TPs, fine. Issue is that takes about 4 seconds, waving the white flag.
XX! He has a family!
The teleport comes through, and I mean, at that point, you're already dead.
Oh, man! Look at the flags from XX's TOP! They see WE play passive, and they say, great, thanks for the map. We'll walk it down and finish the game.
And it was just WE actually playing aggressive in that instance, trying to challenge for a dragon when they were defending their bottom lane Nexus towers. Sure, you have teleport, but remember how long it takes to join the fight, how much damage you're going to be losing off your tanks by the time they get there. So I mean, they were behind for a good amount of time. I don't want to criticize them too heavily because a lot of it was based off their early game happenings. All outer turrets down in 2 minutes time, and that was pretty much it. XX was pushed back for a good majority of the game. You could see where the line was crossed. 12 minutes in, it was evened out. WE was happy about that, giving time to Shie and Mystic to scale up. An issue was the moment the Rift Herald was taken, contested for so long. One time it leaves your eyes and it's like, all right, he's got it. All right, he's taking mid lane tower. Bottom lane tower goes down too. I guess we're gonna have to use teleport from Cho'Gath, the top lane towers.
Yeah.
That all happened.
It's just one after the next in one play.
Yes.
Oh, WE, they try to hold ground. You can see the damage that Mystic did matched Jojo. And Shie was only about 3,000 damage behind Korn on that Orianna, but just not able to keep up. I can't believe I'm saying this. TOP were unable to keep up with the macro map rotations from TOP. What a world. This is the world we live in.
Well, I think that WE, from just that game alone, had a good idea. I think the idea itself, just based off how you deal with the various Tahm Kench and Camille early on, protected their bottom lane. While I would much rather have them have an early game pressure mid lane to give them that extra bit of pressure, just based off draft alone, I felt like if they had a lead, then they could push it forward fairly easily. Issue was based off of how they played the map when Rift Herald was contested fairly often. So it's unlucky. I think in that situation, if the only thing I want to change in draft in WE would just be the Cho'Gath. I think Cho'Gath in that situation, when they recognized that they were going up against a Gnar, you can be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe just take the Kennen in that instance. Focus on the lane matchup so you can protect your Rift Herald a little bit more easily.
Yeah.
He was getting pushed in, mid lane was getting pushed in, and it was all on Condi to really find time to walk up when a lot of the adjacent lanes from XX could just challenge.
Yeah, but as you said, it was the constant push from TOP. Without the support of any of your laners, if we ever see Condi actually step up and try to challenge someone, then it would be TOP who flanks and collapses first. So perhaps a bit of defensive, passive play out of Condi to try to keep himself safe. But
and he had to.
That means they just give up ground.
Yeah, and he had to keep himself safe because, that being said, the combination post-6 from Orianna and Camille wanted to find fights. Shie wasn't giving it to him. That's why Shie was playing rather passively mid lane. That was a good job from him. And sure, at that point, they wanted to, your Trundle and Ryze did want to get something through mid lane, but that's just trying to find out if XX was sleeping at that point.
Yeah.
If he had good vision around mid lane. And XX was constantly around mid. In fact, there were a few times where XX was looking topside. So there was a point where XX was being able to protect Korn quite heavily, but also Korn could help him too. And so the duo was fairly strong from both Korn and XX. It made it difficult for Condi to do his job.
Yeah, it really seems like XX was on top of which lanes were strong at which time, so he could enable them correctly. Again, we do have to talk about the team fight that WE tried to take to get back into the game. And this is where we sort of look at the shot calling and say, who decided to hit this go button? Was it Mystic seeing a Kench out of position and saying, I want to use my ultimate and kill this Kench when there are 5 people right there? Or did WE actually have the capacity to take this fight?
I don't think they did. Remember, the only person that they do see is Tahm Kench, and Tahm Kench was really close to his own bush in a time in which TOP had full control of Baron area. So that bush wasn't warded at all. It's not like you're going to walk in towards the bush and say you can add extra damage. TOP was going to be in a position to fight back. So that, to answer your question, no, I think the ultimate from Sivir was premature.
Yeah.
I think they were just trying to get any chip damage across, but at the time it was just more so WE in a desperate situation, trying to get mid lane control. And you can still get mid lane control. You don't have to press your ultimate. You can just...
You have a Sivir.
Yes.
Press Q and E and...
And if they try and send members to challenge that, then you can rotate around Baron and start to actually chip down at the wards that they had there. So they could play it slower in that situation. They wanted to. They should have. So it was just them at that time being desperate in a time that they didn't need to.
Yeah, and again, that's TOP capitalizing on the desperation of Team WE. And this is, I think, the difference between TOP and WE right now, between these two teams, is that TOP don't wait for the opportunity. They are decisive. They'll look for the play, and if they don't need it, then they back away. They wait, they reset, they take Rift Herald on the second go. They try to take the follow-up fight at the Dragon buff.
And it's mostly off of XX, and now this is really far into the game. The plays being made from both Sivir and Ryze to ult in or TPN, and you can see the result of that already completely chipped down by the time they joined the fight. Jay on Chocho as well, so he's not too concerned. But to your point, yeah, they don't have to wait too much because XX is constantly fishing for the play. think they did a good job of keeping him back. But one person you couldn't keep back throughout this game, a lot of good trades from him, is Chocho, man of the match.
Yeah, he goes 4-0-4, error, death not found. This guy was putting out some real big damage on that Varus, and most importantly, he was the primary punch of Team WE. When XX would flank, it would be Chocho in the middle of a 4-stack, walking up to clear the minion waves and harass WE and make sure they feel unsafe.
And he was in a tough position because, you know, Cleanse and Sivir having her spell shield, how are you going to be able to challenge that? There's that one moment where spell shield is being used early, he sends out the ultimate, gets the flash of Sivir, and then that bottom lane was suddenly, that was when they started to pressure that one a lot more heavily with XX.
Yeah, and off of that, TOP are able to take the victory in that game too. We're going to game 3 in Xi'an. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. The LPL will be right back.
想要在这里生存下去，必须倾尽所有。